Hi, I'm Dave Sobel, host of the Business of Tech podcast here at the Acronis Cyber Fit Summit in Miami. And I'm talking with Jamison West, serial entrepreneur, I think is the best way to describe you. What are you up to right now?
Well, I've kind of got a few things going right now. I'm still a CEO of Smileback, which is great. We've been running that business for about 7 years, and it's been a lot of fun, a great journey. I have a newer software company, TimeZest, with a couple of co-founders that is just going gangbusters and kind of like Calendly for the PSAs. It's been a lot of fun to do that. So very involved in the IT services space from a software perspective. But my primary endeavor right now is I'm a strategic coach at ConnectStrat. So we're a growing coaching firm focused on just helping owners and executives in the IT services space get the most out of their business.
And you've got a book that just came out, right? What's the book about?
Yeah, it's called The Emotional Side of Selling Your Small Business. So I had an MSP for 21 years, did a roll-up, acquired 4 other MSPs, and I found that there was a lot of help, books, resources around valuations and other elements of diligence and what it looked like to sell a business. What was missing was all the components around the feeling of raising something from its infancy and then selling it. It's part of you, part of who you are, the integrity involved and not telling people all of a sudden everything that's going on in your world. That mix of what feels almost like selfishness because you're selling it for yourself, but what's going to happen to your people and your clients and all of those things that you kind of go through, that the trials and tribulations of selling a business. It's a struggle.
So one of the things that we talk about a lot in selling a business is how important culture fit is. And then we talk about the valuation, but what did you find in exploring this with some of the major kind of findings in that culture exploration?
Well, actually, I've been known to say that, you can do due diligence around contracts and clients and money, and you can do all the due diligence you want. It's very hard to do due diligence around culture. Culture was actually the hardest part when I did an acquisition and the sale. Because like I said, 4 acquisitions. That was in 22 months. We went from 8 employees to 40 in 22 months. Ultimately, it was my culture plus 4 others under one roof, and it was an unmitigated disaster of a culture problem, right? Basically, 4 or 5, 8 to 10 person companies all under one roof. I was in a fraternity in college, but I ran a professional firm. One of the companies I bought was a fraternity, right? And so all of a sudden I had this mix of expectations and behaviors that were just completely at odds with each other. And it actually has become a significant component of what we now do at ConnectStrat in our coaching, which is kind of moving away from just core values into a discrete set of emotional and behavioral expectations, what we call a culture guide, and we help our clients build that so you can get very concrete around the expectations of how people behave explicitly. But in the acquisition game, it's a very, very difficult thing, and it's something you just don't expect. If I sell to a company, if I sell my business to a company that has different culture expectations, it could be at the expense of my people. And it's easier for me to look at a company I'm selling to, the acquirer, and look at their culture. It's very hard for acquirer to look at the acquired because you're not going to let them in the door until the deal's done, usually.
So how do you give guidance to someone who's thinking about this for the first time? Where do they start their process of assessing, am I ready, or how should I think about this?
Yeah, so and here's where I think a lot of people miss. When we're thinking about selling a business, I like to say, and I didn't coin the phrase, but you're gonna exit your business at some point, right? Voluntarily, involuntarily, at some point you will not be in it. But we've got to have intention, right? It's going to happen accidentally or intentionally. And the intentional methodology has to start with strong life and legacy planning. So when we start working with our clients, we start with the owners and we say, what do you want out of this? How long do you want to work in it? What are your financial needs and obligations? How do you map all that out into something that makes sense? And now we can begin deriving a plan that says, okay, you need $4 million after taxes in 10 years off 70% equity in the company. Pretty easy math to say, so here's the value your company needs to be at that time. And are your other owners aligned to that? And can we get everybody together and wrap our heads around a plan to grow the revenue and EBITDA in a way that gets us to a valuation that makes sense for you fiscally? And so it really starts there. It doesn't start where a lot of people start with the leadership team and I'm going to democratize what our vision and values should be. It starts with the owner. If you start a business, especially if you're a solopreneur, you start a business because you do what you want to do, you make what you want to make, and you surround yourself with the people you want to be around. It's a beautiful thing. We take all the risk. It's challenging, and you have to have a certain temperament to do it. You're an entrepreneur, you know. But I think that what a lot of these E-Myth entrepreneurs lack is the long-term acumen to say, now how do I not just work in my business, how do I have my business work for me? And flip the script a little bit, and with maturity that comes.
Well, it's my experience that we talk in business press about these small numbers of massive successes. So like an entrepreneur that hits some magic jackpot and does incredibly well and cashes out. But the reality is that 90% of sales are not that. Isn't that your experience too, and the perception isn't in the line?
Look, I know very few entrepreneurs. I've been through several acquisitions and sales, and there's no way I'm done, right? I can't be done. And yeah, I think that there's this fiction that exists that, oh my God, you built it, you sold, you're out. And it happens. It absolutely happens. The vast majority of entrepreneurs I know who've sold their business, they're not done. And that's another part of that emotional journey, because it's like, now, not only what am I going to do, but a little bit of who am I? My identity was part of that business. So I'm not done. I'm not financially done. I'm an entrepreneur. I can't just retire and play golf for the rest of my life. What am I going to go do? And it's something you really need to think through.
So are you spending a little bit of time being a counselor in a way to these business owners?
Yes, absolutely. I find that I'm an unlicensed therapist sometimes. But that's part of being a coach, right? And I do use the word coach over consultant primarily. I mean, there's some consultative things we do, but we find that it's more about, I'm a big EO, I'm the president of the Las Vegas chapter of EO. I'm a huge fan of what EO teaches in this Gestalt methodology of coaching, which is share an experience or a set of experience and let people kind of glean their own answers and decisions, because I don't know more than my clients. What I do is I coach them through the decision making through a series of experience shared, and then ultimately that's what a good therapist does. That's what they're symbiotic words, right?
Well, in a way, they say the end point is the journey itself. So it sounds like it's some of that. Well, Jameson, thanks for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thank you.